Welcome in. This is the Champagne Room live. We're here live on the Champagne Room Facebook page. I'm Illini Isaac, joined by Cooper O'Kelly, student at the U of I and writer for the Champagne Room, covering football and some other stuff for us. So, Cooper, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm happy to be here and talk some ball.
Yeah, definitely. So, if you had is football your favorite sport to cover?
Yeah, I would say so. It's what I've been doing for the past year or so. Been on the football beat for TCR. It's been a lot of fun.
How do you feel about Caton Hauser and all the new faces going into the fall?
I'm excited. I would say that it's always a little uneasy when you have a group of a ton of seniors, a ton of upperclassmen that when the season comes to a close that you're going to be seeing a lot of new faces in the building and on the football field. But I feel pretty confident after the transfer portal period has pretty much came and went. We're done with spring ball now, and am really happy about Caton Hauser in particular. I think the offense is in a great spot with all the newcomers as well. Guys like Jay Platt in the wide receiver room have been making a lot of noise so far. So I feel good. I'm excited for next season.
Yeah, and I mean we're planning to just talk about the NFL draft guys, but now I'm kind of thinking my head's kind of spinning about the upcoming season.
Mhm.
If you had what's an area of the team you feel pretty confident in going into the fall?
I mean, at secondary, absolutely
Yeah.
would have to be the number one. I think that for me personally, like I was a little concerned about the defense seeing, turnover with a lot of the guys on like interior defensive line leaving, whether it was due to eligibility, transfer portal, whatever. Gabe moving on to the next level, James Thompson moving on to the next level, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but having Matthew Bailey and Xavier Scott both announced that they're going to be coming back and kind of be those like leaders in the secondary, pair them up with Juice Clark too. I think that's going to be by far and away the most talented position group next season.
Yeah, I agree. It's a veteran group, which is exciting. And last time we had such a veteran group, obviously a few years ago, things went well in the defensive backfield. Area of concern that you're most concerned about going into the fall?
I think I'm going to have to stick with defensive line. I just mentioned it. That is kind of an area where I don't know if the, coaching staff was expecting to lose certain guys to the transfer portal. Like the name you'll hear, I'm sure you've heard it throughout the offseason, the name Angelo McCollum get tossed around a ton. Big guy in the middle of the defensive line that really got some solid reps at nose tackle over the course of last season. Decided to transfer to Texas A&M, and I feel like that's just one solid example of a hole that they're kind of going to be missing. And I don't think they really attacked that position group as much in the transfer portal as like let's say like wide receiver. So I think it's gonna be interesting to see how that group plays out.
Well, we came to talk about some NFL draft stuff, and I'm a big NFL draft guy outside of just Illinois, so this is a fun podcast for me to do. And you wrote a piece at the Champagne Room just about each of these guys. So
Mhm.
let's get into it. What do you think this says about the program now that we've had multiple draft picks, multiple years in a row, and it felt like for so long we didn't have any guys going, and if we did, it was going to be a fifth or a sixth round pick. So, what do you think this does for the program now that it's a consistent thing? We're going to have at least two or three guys drafted.
I feel like it says a lot. I mean, especially if you look at like the defensive side of the ball, it feels like every year Illinois has consistently churned out like a top level talent. And whether it's, Devon Witherspoon going out and dominating in the Super Bowl or Kirby Joseph was the highest paid safety at one point in time. So like having Illinois players go on and make it to the NFL, I feel like is not only does it say a lot about the coaching staff that's currently with the program, it's a great recruiting pitch that you can give to incoming recruits. And really it just kind of shows kind of the big leaps and bounds that Illinois football has made in the Brett Bielema era so far.
All right, let's start off with an easy one. I'm sure most people, even Illinois fans that keep less up with the football program than you and I do know that Gabe landed with the New England Patriots in the second round. So tell me a little bit about that fit for Gabe. Is he gonna get a shot at playing time right away? And yeah, tell me what you think about him landing in New England.
I think it's a great spot. I mean, personally, as someone who is a Chicago Bears fan, I was hoping he'd hang around for 2 more picks, but I think for him, being in New England is gonna end up being really beneficial for his career. I mean, obviously, it's a great organization. They're coming off a fantastic season. There hasn't been a lot of great publicity around that coaching staff as of late, but it is a good coaching staff. You have a defensive minded coach in Mike Vrabel, and I think that if Gabe had ended up on a team that didn't have a strong defensive line presence, then he might have been thrust into a role where he was expected to do a ton and was expected to come out and immediately be someone who is dominating in the pass rush and who is having an immediate impact. And I'm not saying that he couldn't be good right away, but I feel like he's going to get an opportunity to kind of maybe start as a rotational guy with the Patriots, work his way up, slowly get the reps up, and learn from a lot of veteran leaders on that defense. So I really think this is a great fit for Gabe, and I'm very confident that he's going to have a pretty solid career in the NFL.
What do you think would be realistic to expect from him the first year or two? I know Witherspoon obviously made a huge impact right away. I had a chance at the Super Bowl MVP. He was a top 5 pick. Johnny Newton, it's taken a little bit longer. He was a second round pick, obviously. Quan Martin's made some noise for the Commanders, and the Brown brothers have obviously made noise. Yeah, what do you think's realistic expectation for him in his first year or two in the league?
I think that, given all the experience that he has, like it says right there on the screen, 4-year starter, he's got a lot of games under his belt. He is really able to diversify his pass rush technique. He's solid against the run. I think all of those things kind of help his case in making maybe not an immediate impact, but I certainly think in his rookie year, he's going to have a positive impact on the Patriots defense. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets like a more involved than Johnny Newton did his rookie season. Just because I think he's more game ready and like he's a polished talent, I would say. He's not a project guy that's coming to you with only 20 games started. Like he's got a lot of playing time under his belt. He had a really strong performance at the Senior Bowl. Obviously led the Big Ten in sacks last year. I think pretty much within the first couple games, if he gets a shot to go out there and play, he's automatically going to be a really good proven run stopper, and he's gonna get an opportunity to get after the quarterback. And maybe if the sack numbers aren't popping up, I certainly think the pressures will.
Another guy, we had to wait a few rounds, but in the 5th round, JC Davis goes to the New York Football Giants. So again, well, first, Brett Bielema had some connection there. He spent some time in New York, so I don't think that's a coincidence that the Patriots, where Bielema also spent time, and then the Giants got J.C. Davis, which I think that goes a long way in recruiting too, knowing you come to Illinois, you play well, your head coach knows a lot of guys in the league. Tell me a little bit about J.C. Davis. I know it's hard for 5th rounders to immediately come in and find a role. Now Chase Brown has, but yeah, what do you think of his spot in New Jersey?
I'm a big fan of JC Davis as a prospect. I think you've seen as time goes on, the more experience he gets, the more polished he becomes. Like it was in my piece for TCR, my draft brief. Like he was rated by Pro Football Focus as, I want to say, he was the 3rd ranked left tackle in the country this past season. And you're right. While as a what was it, 4th, 5th round pick, he might not get an opportunity right away to go out there and be a left tackle or even get a ton of snaps. But I see no reason why he won't be a really solid. Maybe he's in on a few rotations, or maybe he's a stopgap guy if the Giants have injuries up front. And I think he proved, especially last season, that he's more than capable in pass protection, especially, which of course it's going to help when you've got a young quarterback like Jackson Dart. And I think he showed off his mobility a lot too, and the fact that he's able to pull in the run game, just be more of a versatile weapon on that O line, I think is going to help him.
Yeah, he's in an interesting situation. I'm sure being with Coach Harbaugh is going to be. I imagine Harbaugh and Bielema run programs similarly. Like they seem to have some fun, be close with their players, but they're also all about business, and they seem to recruit the same types of guys. Moving to the seventh round, I believe,
Yeah,
or was Miles taken in the sixth?
it was the seventh.
The seventh round, kind of surprising. I was intently watching the seventh round, thinking that maybe Luke was going to get picked up.
Mhm.
But super happy for Miles. He was an awesome story at Illinois. Obviously, going from walk on to captain, I believe, starter,
Yeah.
and made a handful of huge plays, huge interceptions during his time here. So, what are the Broncos and Sean Payton getting in Miles Scott, and what's the depth chart looking like for him there?
Yeah, I think that first and foremost, I mean, you said it right away that the story is unbelievable. You showed so much passion and drive as a football player. If you're able to work your way up from being a walk-on to being a two-time captain of a really good Big Ten football team that is coming off of two back-to-back bowl-winning seasons, like that says a lot about you as a player. In terms of like fit football wise with the Broncos, I mean, they're getting a really versatile guy. He, I would imagine, is going to fit in as more of like a strong safety in the NFL, but I know that the Broncos are not afraid to play their DBs all over the field. And I think that's something that Miles is really comfortable with. I feel like in pass coverage, he was really fantastic this past season. He can be a bit of a ball hawk in way back there in the safety position, but in run support as well, I feel like he improved even as the season kept going on. I feel like he got better, and he's a good tackler, works hard, and just has the football IQ of a guy that certainly is going to, I think, get a chance to work his way up and at least get a chance to get some playing reps on the field.
What do you think? What do you think, Miles, JC, Gabe? What do you think they all kind of? This might be a tough question. What do you think they all have in common that led for them to get drafted? I think a lot of people would say it was a down draft, but they had to have shown something through the process. And what do you think led to them going from? They all had very different journeys, but again, what do you think they all had in common that led them to be NFL ready?
Yeah, I think that obviously there's a lot that goes into it, but I mean, those are all guys that got a ton of reps and experience at the collegiate level in a good program that now is being recognized clearly by the National Football League as being a place where guys can go and develop into better football players and learn skills that are going to make them, beneficial and positive influences on an NFL team. You mentioned that they do have different journeys, but I feel like there's something to be said where Miles was a walk on and made it all the way up to where he got today. JC Davis started as a community college player and transferred around before finding his spot at Illinois. Gabe Akis, he played a little as a freshman, continuously worked his role up to being the sack leader of the Big Ten and continued to get better year in and year out. So I feel like when you have guys that have proven loyalty to a program, that have proven that they're willing to do what it takes to put in the reps to get better, I don't see why that wouldn't help your case as a prospect, right? They're willing to stick around, stay the course, and do what needs to be done to contribute to winning football and also just being better players overall.
Now, as cool as Miles getting drafted, Gabe, JC,
Mhm.
I thought for sure Luke was going to go in like the fifth or the sixth round, especially some of the quarterbacks that were getting drafted.
Yeah.
I'm like, how can you look at both? I know that Luke doesn't have necessarily an elite trait, but as
Mhm.
far as just winning and especially his final year at Illinois, it felt like 99% of the time he made the right throw, wasn't always, putting the ball in harm's way. He got so much better with his legs. Like, I just, for the life of me, don't understand how, like, Nussmeier got drafted over him, Drew Aller, Cade Klubnik. Like, I know those guys have traits that a lot of NFL teams want, but it's just hard for me to believe that there wasn't a team late in the draft that wanted to take a chance on him. Now, on the flip side of that, I'm a Lions fan, actually being from West Michigan, and I think it's a way better spot to go be with Dan Campbell and be potentially Jared Goff's backup than say get drafted by the Browns or the Jet, like some random team that's already got, an interesting quarterback situation. So there's a flip side of that, but what do you think of well, first of all, twofold. Tell me, why do you think Luke didn't get drafted? And then what do you think of his landing spot in Detroit?
I think you're right to mention first and foremost that probably the reason is that he didn't have any of those standout traits like that we've come to realize that NFL execs are looking out for. Like if you look at Taylor Green, who ended up getting drafted to the Browns, like he is an athletic specimen. That is, you can't deny that. You look at Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik and Drew Aller, like those are all guys that had fantastic seasons and were projected to be first rounders at one point, chose to go back to school and things didn't work out. You could use that as an argument both ways because Luke decided to go back and he had a good season. But I think if you look in terms of upside, I could understand why certain NFL teams would opt for the guys who were once first round level prospects over Luke. The one that makes zero sense to me is the Commanders going out and drafting the Rutgers QB Ethan Kaliak-Manis, who
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
made no sense to me whatsoever because they went head to head, Luke and him, and Luke outdealed him, and Illinois beat Rutgers just a couple of months ago. So that one was certainly a little puzzling. I am surprised that someone didn't step in and take a flyer on him in the seventh round. But like you said, it could end up working out better for him just because he lands in Detroit. And I think that's a good place. It's a good place for him to be. And that's a perk of being an undrafted free agent instead of getting drafted, is that you kind of get to choose what's best for you. And you mentioned it, he's behind Jared Goff and currently Teddy Bridgewater on
Mhm.
that depth chart. But I mean, to me, I see no reason why. It's similar. Like I'm a Bears fan, and it's similar to me how Caleb Williams is the starter, Tyson Bagent is a developmental guy who's developed into a really solid backup quarterback option. And then you have Case Keenum as kind of the veteran presence who almost feels more like a quarterback coach that's there to give guidance to your young guys. And I see no reason why that couldn't end up happening with Detroit, where sure, maybe the season starts and Teddy Bridgewater is QB2 on the depth chart, but who knows? I mean, Luke continues to get reps in practice with the Lions and continues to improve. And I'll tell you what, man, if I am a quarterback who's looking to make it in the NFL, I don't see why I wouldn't want to go play with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameer
Mhm.
Gibbs, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, and play in a scheme that really feels like it maybe not fully geared to Luke, but certainly seems like one he could succeed in because I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like you would know a little better than me as a Lions fan, but I feel like they do a lot of dink and dunk and short and medium intermediate passes, which is an area I feel like Luke really grew into being really good at Illinois. And sure, he doesn't have the bona fide arm talent of some of those guys that did get drafted, but he can still sling it, man. He's gotten more accurate every year at Illinois.
Yeah, it is a little similar. I would say Altmaier is more dynamic with his legs than Goff. Goff
Mhm.
is more dynamic from the pocket and not putting the ball like ever in harm's way, except for in big playoff games, it feels like. But Um, yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be a great guy to, be working with. Jameson Williams. Um, it does kind of remind me, Amon-Ra and Goff do remind me a little bit of another guy we'll talk about, Hank Beatty and Luke,
Mm.
just kind of your consistent. It felt like Hank was always open on those routes across the field, and Hank was like the most consistent catcher I've ever seen. But yeah, no, I agree. It's Teddy Bridgewater is, like, from what I hear and like podcasts I listen to and stuff, he is very much like he's just there. He's a great culture guy. Everybody
Yeah.
loves him, and he can probably come in and throw a few balls, but he's not like the future or a for certain backup to Goff. So I mean, he's definitely got, a hill to climb, but I think it's a great place to be. And I know Dan Campbell and the grittiness and the Bielma tough, smart, dependable, I think go hand in hand. So since we're on the Lions, Melvin Priestley also ends up there. And I know Melvin, there was a video of him getting interviewed basically saying he was stoked to go to Detroit with Luke. So they both got UDFA contracts. Now, again, personally, as a Lions fan, I know their offensive line was terrible last year and super thin. Taylor Decker just left. From what you've read, researched, and wrote about, what's Melvin Priestley's situation in Detroit?
I think that he's coming to the Lions. To me, it seems like at the right time because what it seems like from my research and my standpoint, it looks like they are turning a new leaf in terms of their offensive line room, and they're switching gears a little bit to a unit that's been more veteran heavy, and they're looking to switch things up and go younger, go more versatile. And I feel like Melvin could end up fitting that mold. Obviously, the Lions going offensive line in the first round at pick 17 with Blake Miller um, isn't something that I would say bodes super well for Melvin in terms of like trying to get on the field right away. But I think that he's a solid option to maybe finding his way onto the roster as a depth piece. And he's a mauler. Like he can get out there and smash some dudes. It was kind of a concern at the start of his Illinois career with like penalties and stuff like that. And you saw it a little bit this season, but I really feel like he's come a long way and cleaned a lot of that stuff up. And I see no reason why he can't find his way onto that roster in Detroit.
So speaking of Hank Beatty,
Yeah.
he lands in Tennessee with the Titans, UDFA contract. Now, from NFL draft stuff I've listened to, it's going to be a tough spot. They have Nick Westbrook-Akine or something, which was a pretty good return specialist, which is part of what Hank was so good at. But you never know. I mean, he's a sure-handed guy. Like, I don't know if the last time I felt as confident when a receiver was getting thrown the ball that he would catch it as Hank Beatty. So what's Hank stepping into with a new situation with Robert Saleh, Cam Ward's second year? What's
Mhm.
Hank? What's his first season going to look like in Nashville?
I think that it's a little unfortunate for him because he was the guy that I knew was going to be an undrafted free agent that I was personally the most excited about
Mm.
because you saw the success that Isaiah Williams had this past season with the Jets. And I kind of thought that Hank was going to be the next iteration of that in the NFL, like find his way onto a roster and be a consistent punt return guy, kick return guy, maybe get a couple of reps in at the slot receiver towards the end of the season. But like you mentioned, like the Titans are kind of set with their return specialist, and it's a guy, I forget his exact name, but they drafted him last season and he averaged over 16 yards per return. He had 2 returns for touchdowns, and he's only going to be going into his second season. So that is kind of a tough spot for Hank to walk into. But like you said, they've got a new coach, they've got a new offensive coordinator. Maybe they're going to be switching things up, and they want to go with the unique face. Hank is, I mean, you said it. He's sure-handed. He's reliable. He's proven, especially in his junior and senior seasons, that he can be an absolute weapon, whether it's I mean, especially as a returner, I feel like that was kind of his bread and butter as a punt returner. But let's say they want to toss him out there for a gadget play, like he was the only player in the country to have a passing, rushing, receiving, and return touchdown last season. So he's a bit of an X factor guy if he's able to stick around for long enough. I think that teams could use him in a really cool, unique way.
We're gonna be getting into some of the nitty gritty. So any analysis you've done is gonna be great. Because I don't know how many people know much about the Patriots tight end room, but
Yeah.
Tanner Arkin signs with the New England Patriots.
Mhm.
Um, Also, like you mentioned, with some coaching trouble, but it's going to be joining Gabe. So kind of cool. A few Illini are going to be linking up. What's Tanner getting himself into? I know he's more known for his blocking, right? Like a stud blocking
Yeah.
type, but what's he getting
Yeah.
himself into in New England?
He's walking into kind of a packed tight end room,
Mhm.
which is not ideal. I mean, Hunter Henry is their go-to guy. They had another veteran, Julian Hill, re-sign with them. He was their tight end 2 last season. And then also in the 3rd round, they drafted Notre Dame tight end Eli
Uh,
Raridan. So there's a lot of guys that are going to be ahead of Tanner, but like you said, he is more of like a blocking guy. And what I will say is all the reports coming out of, at least during his time at Illinois, is that he's a great locker room guy. He's a strong leader, and I think he's definitely capable of maybe being a special teamer in the NFL. And if he needs to find his way onto a roster for the Patriots, like while that tight end room is pretty packed, he can certainly, you can make it work as a special teamer if you're bringing a positive impact to a locker room or, to a position group. So tight end is a little rough, but I mean, he could end up as a special teamer, I think is the best way of putting it.
Josh Geske is going to Green Bay. Dude that really, I think he's from Mantino, somewhere there in central Illinois,
Mhm. Yeah.
really took some strides and ended up being a really solid player and then signing with the Packers. So tell me about Josh and his position group, and if he's going to be able to get on the field for LaFleur.
I think that the biggest takeaway for me during this whole process with Josh is that he was a guy that his stock rose a lot after Illinois' pro day. Like he went out there, he was noticeably skinnier than he was when he was playing during the season. And we got us reporters got a chance to go ask him, like, hey, like, what are you clocking in at? Like, what have you been doing differently? And he said that he was out there at I want to say it was 25 pounds lighter than the weight that he was playing at all season long. And he kind of said that he did that in an effort to show NFL teams that, hey, I'm comfortable at playing whatever position you want me to be at, whatever weight you want me to be at. I'm a versatile guy. I can do a lot of things. Like most of his snaps at Illinois were at right guard, but I think that he has shown that he is capable of being, a multifaceted player. And in terms of like the depth chart, the Packers guards, they just signed Aaron Banks to like I want to say a 70 or $80 million deal this past
Mm.
offseason. On the flip side, they just drafted a guy, Anthony Belton, last season. So in terms of starters, it looks like they're pretty set. They drafted a guard slash center from Kentucky, Jaeger Burton, in the NFL draft. So kinda another room that's pretty full, but like I said, I think that, Gasky's willingness to adapt to what a team wants him to do, I think is something that's really gonna help him out and could end up working out in his favor in Green Bay.
Only one more UDFA, and then there's a few quick we'll mention guys that got mini camp invites, but
Mhm.
James Thompson is headed to the 49ers. So short stint in Champaign, but was already an NFL prospect when he was at Wisconsin. So Yeah, what's James getting himself into? Do the 49ers have a spot for him? What's that gonna look like?
I mean, first and foremost, I want to say that while it was only one season in Champaign for James, like he made such a meaningful impact, I feel like, in the community. He was doing videos like all season long, like reviewing different restaurants in the community, and he really at every media availability was kind of like a joy to talk to ask questions to, because he just generally seems like a nice dude, like a good person. And I feel like that's something that could end up helping him out, could end up making him a strong locker room guy. And like you said, he's been on NFL teams' radars for quite a bit. I mean, I think if he hadn't gotten hurt in his last season at Wisconsin, he probably would have declared for the draft like a year and a half ago before he even came to Illinois. So I mean, he is a really strong player. He has the ability to play interior or exterior. Looking at the 49ers group, that D line is obviously led by Nick Bosa at edge. That's the guy that you're not really going to touch or come close to. He's an absolute beast. But they've got Osa Odigwaza in the interior D line. He was kind of a big signing for them recently. So those guys are kind of like the alphas of that group. They drafted another D lineman in the fourth round, Grayson Holton out of Oklahoma. And something to note, I feel like, which might not exactly be in James's favor, is that he is going to be kind of competing alongside Indiana's Mikhail Kamara, who was
Mm,
their stud defensive lineman this past season, also is getting brought in as an
mm.
undrafted free agent. So it'll be interesting to see how both those guys try to make their way throughout the room. But I mean, I think James is a really, really talented player. He can be super strong in the run game, especially. And, he can get after the quarterback too. So he's a guy personality wise that I'm definitely rooting for. And I think he has the talent to at least find a way onto a roster. I think, I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about this group of UDFAs for the most part.
Kamara, I forgot. I cannot believe he didn't get drafted.
Right.
That dude was a stud. And I
Mhm.
know he got hurt in the he didn't play in the playoff, right?
Yeah, I
Uh,
believe like the last two games.
so maybe that's why, but man, that's not ideal for James. But yeah, like you said, seems like a great dude. And hey, Tommy DeVito didn't get drafted, and he's making good money and got a
Right.
great backup situation now. So I think yeah, I think a lot of these guys have a good chance to do that. Real quick, the rest of the guys that signed. So we ran through Gabe, JC, Miles, Luke, Tanner, Hank, Josh, Melvin, James. Josh Kreutz got a rookie minicamp invite to the Chicago Bears, where his dad was a stud. Kenena Odeluga, who was a Illini like fan favorite, I feel like, again, seemed like an absolute
Mhm.
awesome dude. Felt like he was in
Yeah.
Champaign for a while, which again you don't get very often now. Got an invite to the Colts mini camp, and then Dylan Rosiak, another dude that felt like he was here forever and fans loved. Had some injury issues, but was really great when he was on the field. Dylan
Mhm.
Rosiak, Tampa Bay Bucks rookie minicamp invite. So, any of those three guys, you have any thoughts on, or yeah, think they can get onto the roster in the fall? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, just I guess a quick hitter about each of them. I mean, Josh Kurtz, really dependable guy here at Illinois. I know that, Luke gives him a ton of credit for, playing a part in his success as his center for so many years. And the bond that they built seemed to be really special. And he was kind of like felt almost like the anchor of that offensive line, even though, JC might have been the best player or Melvin might have been the biggest guy. It felt like Josh Kreutz always had a ton of heart and went out there and was just, like I said, dependable, played a lot of snaps, got out there. Obviously, the big connection between, his dad, Olin, and probably helping him out a little bit, getting an invite to the Bears mini camp. But I think I'm excited to see him kind of get a chance to go out there and compete this summer. Kanena, you said it. He's a great dude. Like he's just a nice guy. Always super kind to members of the local media. And let me tell you, dude, one of the first interviews I did like on the football beat was with Kanena Odeluga, and he comes out and he's just not wearing a shirt, just finished a lift. He is an absolute
Yep.
just mountain of a dude, and like he's proven that not only is he super strong and just like physically imposing, but he can move too a little bit, and he can jet around that field and chase after ball carriers. I feel like there were a couple times where he was able to hawk down running backs where I was almost taken aback, like wow, he really caught up to him at that size. So be interesting to see how he does. Dylan Rosiak as well, I feel like was a guy that another linebacker that did pretty well in the run game. I will say that at his pro day, I was pretty impressed by how fluid it looked like he was moving in the various defensive drills, shuffling his feet, moving around, running around those like tackle dummies that they have. So it'll be interesting to see how all three of those guys go out and try to make the most of their opportunities this summer.
Yeah, again, it's so fun to have guys to keep track of, and
Absolutely.
similar to Io right now in the NBA, and Terrence and Will Riley had a great season. Like it's
Mm.
now we're starting to stack up NFL guys too that'll be fun to keep track of. And well, sweet Cooper, this was awesome. Again, I'm an NFL draft guy, an NFL guy, so this was a blast. Thanks for your insight. Fill us in, plug your stuff. What's your handle? Where can people find you at?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first and foremost, all my written work is going to be on the champagneroom.com. If you guys want to follow me on X, my username is just at Cooper O'Kelly, no spaces or anything like that. Try to post a ton of Illinois content, clips of pressers, impactful quotes, good stuff like that. So feel free and go give me a follow over there.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Cooper, I'm sure we'll have you on for football season stuff and coming up this summer. So, yeah, thanks again. And I'm Illini Isaac. That's Cooper O'Kelly. This is the Champagne Room Live, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Peace.